So I thought I'd give my 2 cents of what I thought about episode one. It says everyone else is giving their 2 cents, so I'm going to be very brief about mine. Um, First of all, I want to address some issues that people had. Number one issue is the people or the characters are addressing things that we as the audience already know. Um, I do have issues with this episode, but that's not one of them because the thing is, these characters didn't know. John didn't know he was Aegon Targaryen until Sam told him. There's a lot of information that we didn't know. Example, like how Arya and the Hound were going to react to each other after not seeing each other for a long time. So this episode was basically a reunion episode, seeing how these characters would act with each other after being gone for so long, knowing information that they didn't know before. That was the point of this episode. It was a setup for the next few episodes, and hopefully, if Game of Thrones keeps doing this, it's going not only is it going to set up everything early, but it can get a lot of potential things out of the way. What I really like in this episode is how Bran was so straightforward. Is when everyone is doing the same thing that Robert Baratheon was doing, is coming to King's Landing, coming to Winterfell with Jon Snow and Daenerys like they were king or queen, and while everyone is celebrating reunion with the reuniting of each other, Bran was like, "We don't have time for this. The Night King has your dragon. Blah blah blah. We're coming forward." And seeing how the Sansa and Daenerys their little feud with each other. They don't like each other upon seeing each other. But already, what I like about this episode is that there's some actions that Daenerys has taken upon her arrival to the Seven Kingdoms, such as burning the Tarleys, Samuel Tarley's dad and his brother. Some of Daenerys' actions with the dragons and how she seems very pleased that she's somehow scaring the Northerners with their dragon. But one thing is constant that everyone is worried about this Night King. So I did like all the reunions. I thought that was really well done with Arya and Jon. I thought it was interesting to see how Bran and Jon's reaction upon seeing each other. Jon's happy to see Bran, but you can see with Jon's facial expression that he is a little put off by Bran with his comment like, "Oh, you're a man now," almost. Like you can see that Jon's starting to realize Bran is not the same person that he once was. And what I also like about this episode is Jon comes in to Winterfell and he's so sure of himself about all his decisions. Like, I know I gave up my crown so Daenerys can come and help us, and so I brought an army. But he's starting to realize that at least that's what it's suggesting, that maybe he may have made a mistake by giving up his crown. He didn't have to bend the knee to Daenerys. He could ask her for her help, and then they can discuss whether they should bend the knee or not. I still don't like how Sansa is so, like, just dead as a person. Like, she's just like, "Oh, well, you didn't have to bend the knee. Oh, well, blah, blah, blah." Like, she just seems so, like, I guess all that's happened to her, you can't really blame her. You can't really blame for everything that's happened to her with the way she's acting. But sometimes I wish she could chill out a little bit. And one thing that does bother me, and I guess this may happen in real life, like, do people just not realize just how big of a threat the Night King is? Well, you see, that's the funny part, is Jon Snow went to King's Landing to prove to everyone how bad the Night King is and the Army of the Dead is, but he didn't show the Northerners. The Northerners still are a little skeptical about this whole Night King thing. So you can't really blame them for acting the way they do. But at the same time, you're thinking, well, can you guys chill out a little bit? Because maybe Jon is, he helped take back Winterfell. He was a man of the Night's Watch. You think you want to give him a little bit of credit that maybe he might know what he's talking about. Granted, they may be still skeptical about the Night King, but he obviously has some form of knowledge of what's going on. I did like all the reveals, especially when we're going to King's Landing with Cersei and Euron. Well, Euron getting what he wanted out of Cersei, but at the same time, I'm a little put off about some things. Now, there is one other interesting thing I will mention is Bronn. Bronn getting the crossbow and being ordered to kill both Jaime and Tyrion. It just shows what a cold-hearted son of a bitch Cersei is. Jaime is someone that she's loved all her life, and she's so willing to just put him down so easy. And how she's able to do a 360 clockwards when even though she decided not to kill her brother that day, maybe she just had a plan all along. So I don't know, like she doesn't want to kill her brothers, but at the same time she does. Like her character choices are a little conflicting, but at the same time they're scary. And I think giving Bronn the crossbow and being ordered to kill Jaime and Tyrion, granted, you got to remember, Bronn is still a sellsword. He's always been a sellsword. He's gonna do it for money. But at the same time, it's gonna be interesting to see that Bronn actually put his honor on the line. Is he gonna choose money over his friends? That's something that's going to be interesting for a sellsword. So I am, in a way, kind of glad they're going with that route. I know some people are having an issue with it. I actually don't have an issue with it. I think I didn't really expect it. That's the thing. I actually expected Bronn to go and save the Martell ladies, but of course he didn't. Now I'll get to two things that actually bothered me in this episode. Actually bothered a lot of people. Theon saving Yara so quickly, so easy. It happened in like 2 minutes. You were led to believe at the end of season 7 that there was going to be this big fight over Yara. But no, it literally just happened in a few minutes while Euron was away screwing Cersei. So that's a little interesting dynamic. But at the same time, it was downplayed a lot, especially with the way Euron just saved her in under 2 minutes. So, but at the same time, you know, I am glad that Yara told Theon, you can go back to Winterfell and help your friends, blah, 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 blah. That's something that's cool. At least we get to see Theon in Winterfell helping fight the army of the dead. Whether he'll get there in time, though, is up for debate. I don't know if he'll be able to get there in time. If he does, we'll see how that plays out. The second thing that bothered me, actually, it didn't really bother a lot of people. It actually bothered me personally. Now, I did like Jon riding the dragon. Both dragons. I did like Jon riding the dragon. But at the same time, okay, I understand dragons are fictional. They're not real. You know, I'm not debating about that. So just relax for a second. What I'm saying is when Jon walks up to there's a shot. There's one shot that Jon and Daenerys walk up to the dragons. And to me, I felt the rendering for the CGI for that scene was so poorly done. Not the part where he's riding on the dragon, but the part where they're walking up to the dragons. I saw that and I was a little put off. Like, really? This is like a big budget show. You guys couldn't make that look a little more realistic? I know dragons are not real. I understand that. I'm just saying, for some reason, I just saw that one shot that really bugged me, and I think they could have fixed it better in post-production. That's just me. That's just me. In the whole Daenerys and Jon Snow relationship, I think it is interesting. I think it is interesting for their connection with each other, their relationship. But at the same time, the reason why I think it's interesting because you could already tell that this is not going to end well. Jon just found out that this is his aunt. He just found out that he is the, Aegon Targaryen. He just found out that she has no rightful claim to the throne. And this is going to cause treason. Jon even says to himself, this is going to cause treason. But it's not treason because he is the true king of the Seven Kingdoms. Now, with all the things that Daenerys has done, even when she seems a little threatening to Sansa, like you can tell, like, you know, if you know cat fights at all, like seeing two women go at each other, women don't really talk like men when it comes to threats. No, they're little subtle things like, what do dragons eat? Whatever they want. That is a threat. Oh, Sansa doesn't respect me. If she doesn't respect me, she's going to have to, blah, 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 blah. You would think that if Jon and Daenerys were in a relationship and that Daenerys would come to understand, hey, some of my relatives, if we're going to get married or stay in this relationship, some of my relatives may not be happy with you, Daenerys. You might want to get over that. So she still doesn't quite seem to understand how things work. I can understand she was in exile all her life. She doesn't understand the Seven Kingdoms. She's so used to the Dothraki and the way Essos is. This is not how things are done in the Seven Kingdoms. I mean, granted, the Seven Kingdoms is no saint when it comes to rights and all that. But at the same time, you could tell that she needs to chill out a little bit. Like, okay, Sansa doesn't have to respect you. She could be your potential sister-in-law, blah, 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 but she doesn't have to respect you. She doesn't have to like you. You don't have to like her. That's just the way things are. So you're saying, but this is Jon and Daenerys, they're aunts and nephew. Well, I hate to break it to you, but this is the Middle Ages where things like that don't really matter as much. I mean, they do matter, but royal families marrying into each other is really not that big of a deal. But brother and sister, that's something that's definitely looked down upon. But especially with the Targaryens have been doing that shit for centuries. They've been doing that shit for years, and maybe that might not have any real effect on their relationship. But what will have a effect on their relationship is the fact that Jon is the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, and Daenerys still has this stick up her ass, like, oh, you guys need to respect me. Oh, I have dragons. And you can see how she smirks a little bit when people are afraid of her dragons. I don't know why she's smirking. She wants these people to have her respect, but at the same time, she's not doing a good job. You saw the way she told Sam. Oh yeah, the best part of this show, the best part of this episode, it was when Daenerys told Sam about her father and brother, what happened to them. That was so well acted. That was so well acted. I mean, bravo, Samuel Tarly. I don't really know the actor's name that well. I can just Google his name and know his name, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying. But that was so well acted and so well done. And I like Sam as a character. And I think that's an interesting dynamic that now Sam has some sort of resentment to Daenerys. He has some sort of grudge against her. And you can tell in the scene where he's telling Jon about his rightful heritage, hey, this person is not the queen of the Seven Kingdoms. On top of that, Jon, you were willing to give up your crown for the greater good, but is she? That's going to be a good test to Daenerys. Things to look forward to in the next episode. How is Jon and Daenerys and the rest of the Starks going to react to the news that Jon is actually a Targaryen? Is he going to tell anybody? Is it going to matter? Because as I said, the Army of the Dead is coming right around the corner. I don't think that shit really matters. And Bran knows, hey, this doesn't matter right now. But I want to tell you, if we die, you're the king of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm just letting you know who your father really was. So based on Jon as a character, even though he is a truthful character, but right now I think what's more important to Jon is the fact that he needs to defeat the Night King. So he may hold off on the information, or he may be straightforward about it. But seeing that the Starks, especially Ned Stark, had a great influence on Jon, knowing that he was an honorable man that liked to tell the truth, maybe Jon will just let out the truth to Daenerys, and maybe the relationship, maybe it won't have any effect at all. Overall, I like this episode. Yeah, it had a few issues, but it is way better than the shit we were getting in Season 6 and Season 7. I'm telling you right now, like, Season 6 and 7 was a big letdown. But I like this setup to Season 8. I'm looking forward to the setup. How is Daenerys going to act? How is Jon going to act? How are these characters going to react? The way the Night King and his Army of the Dead are being betrayed as these monsters, especially when we get to see what happens to the Umbers, and the way that the little Umber was a staple to the wall like that. That was creepy as shit. Like, I'm really glad that they're going with that more scary vibe. This show did a big 360 with that one scene. But yeah, the Army of the Dead, they're scary as shit. But this one scene got to show you just how fucking terrifying they are. And I'm glad about that. So I can't wait for the next episode. I want to see how this all plays out. I think this episode was a great setup for the rest of the season. It is great storytelling. Guys, just let me know what you think in the comments below. And again, this is just my opinion alone. I didn't have a lot of issues with this episode, just mainly with the Greyjoys and the dragon rendering. Everything else to me was okay. I'm glad to see these characters interact. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I gotta go. Peace out.